The biggest key to Auburn in March, they got to remember who they are.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Darrell, Dapprich, Montgomery radio legends, we dap it up on this Wednesday. The key for Auburn in March, Darrell, as the tournament action is now underway, they've got to remember who they are. And this long stretch where they haven't been playing, people are posting, highlights and all that. And there was a scene that went semi-viral again when they were locking up and they were up by Memphis by several in the closing seconds of the Maui. And they're all chanting and dancing, and they're all kind of pointing at Dylan Cardwell. Like, this team was having fun. They were having fun dominating people throughout the ridiculous non-conference schedule. That seems to have been lost somewhere along the way. They've got to get back to that and remember who they are, remember what made them great, and I think a run's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that there's two reasons, and I get it. It's absolutely factual that they look different. They look a little bit more serious. They look a little tighter. They look a little bit more like the weight of the world was on them sometimes. Now, that's going to happen by default. First of all, early in the season, when the expectations aren't as high as the number one team in the country that they've been wearing as a mantle for a very, very long time, the second half of the season, when they were ascending to get to that spot, it's a lot lighter. There's a lot less pressure. You're the hunter. It's fun. You're laughing. The expectations aren't that great. So that's the first thing. When you become the number one team in the country, you wear it. It's a crown. It's a burden. The second thing, let's be honest, when you get into conference play, it becomes a whole different animal. And this conference was brutal. So that's also why there was this heaviness, this seriousness. I think getting in the NCAA tournament alleviates some of that because it's the postseason and you're in the big dance. And although you'll take it very seriously, I think there's a celebratory effect that you'll see them play a little bit looser and with a lot more fun.
Yeah, I hope so. I certainly hope so. It does still kind of feel like the pressure is on them, but we're recording this before the play-in game is, so like by the time this drops, we'll know who Auburn's playing. But I mean, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, like, it doesn't matter who Auburn's playing. Even in the second round, I don't think it really matters who Auburn's playing. If Auburn plays like they're capable of doing, they should beat anybody up until I think the Elite Eight matchup with presumably Michigan State.
Amen. And I'm seeing a lot more people kind of jump on that bandwagon that I really, really respect. Jay Wright, the former Villanova coach, some other people that are national, commentators that also used to coach, saying they got Auburn at least in the Final Four or they have them in the Final Two. So, yeah, but now that could develop an inherent pressure if a lot of people start chattering and making noise that you're the favorite. I guess being the overall number one seed makes you the favorite. But like I've talked about before, there is something there that Bruce can use to, even if it's manufactured, Zach, to take some of that pressure off and go, yeah, we're the number one overall seed in the country. This isn't how Darrell feels, by the way. I'm just saying manufacture it, embellish it, right? Yeah, we're the number one seed in the country and the number one seed in the tournament. But why do we have the hardest region, guys? They're not respecting us. See, manufacture something. Get something to get that chip and that edge. You don't need it this time of year, but any little thing like that, he's a master at using. So that's what I would do.
He is, for sure. And I also love that you're starting to see more and more folks point out the fact of, like, okay, if Auburn survives the first weekend, which you and I expect that they will, regardless of who they play in the second round, Louisville, Creighton, I don't care. I really don't care. Because if Auburn loses that game, it won't be about what Louisville or Creighton do. It'll be about Auburn not taking advantage of opportunities. Yep. Firmly believe that. Unless Louisville or Creighton come out and they shoot like 60% from three or something, then we'll have a different conversation. That'd be a very somber post-game show. But to me, I think it's more about, Auburn, they just got to show who they are. And the whole argument of, okay, they've lost 3 of their last 4, which is more nuanced than that. If you actually want to look at the context, I think it changes that conversation too. I mean, everybody but a few teams lost their last game of the season by nature of the conference tournament, but that only applies to Auburn for some reason, not other teams. But I do think when you look at what all can happen as far as trending upward or downward in a 2-week span, assuming they survive this weekend, from when they lost in Nashville to Tennessee to when they get ready for the Sweet 16, I mean, we're talking about a 2-week span. Like, it's not going to be the same team. It's not going to be the same team. And I don't know. I think folks are focusing on the wrong thing, and I'm actually okay with it.
So your original premise of Auburn needs to get back to being who they are,
yes,
is what this is all based upon, is because there are people that are trying to figure out, well, exactly who are they? Are they the team that ran through everybody in non-conference play, that clinched at Rupp with 3 games left to go? Or are they the team that lost 3 of 4? And it's interesting to think that a lot of the people that want to discount Auburn are really, really focusing on only losing the 3 or 4 and disregarding and having amnesia what they did for the like, if a majority of Auburn's season was inconsistent, I see it. But 90% of Auburn's season was historical, and they belted people. Okay,
more than 90%.
Yeah, so just the last 4 games, everyone wants to focus. The naysayers want to focus on that. That's who Auburn is. Disregard who they were to that point. That's okay. That's okay, because that's the kind of thing that you want. You want to get that chip back on your shoulder. You want to get that. Everyone's talking about Florida. Everyone's talking about Duke. I'm telling you, it's for people watching and listening, it's the best thing in the world that could have happened to Auburn.
I think long term, for sure. So we'll see. We'll see. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday with Kyle, Darrell. I mean, you saw it's like people put out the note of like, oh, Auburn lost 3 of the last 4, and all these talking heads that don't watch college basketball are starting to like say all these things about Auburn. It's like, name 2 players on Auburn's team not named Jani Broome. Do it. Like, go ahead and do it. And like, a lot of these folks can't do it. There's no way they could do it.
And where were they earlier? Yeah, where were they early talking about Auburn? You know, when they were making this historical run.
Right. Well, they're not watching or talking about college basketball until the tournament starts, which is fine. I mean, as most of the world, right? But I just think this all of a sudden shift of, oh yeah, Auburn doesn't have it. It's like, you didn't watch those games. You don't know. So we'll see, and we could be wrong. You know, Auburn could fall flat, but and that's what I want to talk about next. There's a major differing of opinion when it comes to Auburn's path and what Auburn's expected to do, and I want to jump into that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, and design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, marketing, and more. Finding the right talent is obviously crucial. And if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can help you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That is Upwork, UPWORK, Upwork.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Today's show is also brought to you by Fabric. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. I mean, I blinked, and my youngest kiddo turned 2 earlier this week. It's just insane. It's just insane how quick it flies by. And also, it's what makes getting set up for your future so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. You can join thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. You can apply and be covered in just under 10 minutes. Apply today at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That is Meet Fabric. Fabric is spelled Fabric. Meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies insured by Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend himself. It's interesting the differing of opinions. Some people think Auburn got a good draw, great draw. I'm in the great draw camp. And some folks think they got absolutely hosed. You kind of hinted at that with maybe, so that could be something that Bruce Pearl manufactures. And with that, because I think these two things run parallel, these two, differing of opinions. One is the difficulty of the path. And two, it's what you're expecting Auburn to do. You're seeing all of these experts fill out these brackets, and it's all or nothing, which I think is interesting. And that's kind of how I feel about it. I think I agree. It almost seems like Auburn gets upset in the second round, or they make the Final Four or better. I don't think there's any in between, Darrell.
No, excellent point. The path is there, and I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I think it's a good path. I think at this point of the season, you're going to have to beat good teams. Quit shying away from crap and talking about this or that or assuming. I hate that. And the fan base, look, part of this is this whole AP poll comparison that you and I have been screaming from the rooftops.
Right.
Louisville's 10th in the country in the AP poll, but they're a number 8 seed. Auburn is the number 1 overall seed, and they're 4th in the AP poll. That's why we don't pay attention to the AP poll. I think that your point about getting out of that
didn't play anybody, and when they did, they lost.
Exactly, and so that's what the committee saw.
That's not what Ole Miss.
That's not what writers that don't watch ball every game, like the committee does, and know ball. That they don't know that. They just see, they got to the final. They got to the finals against Duke in the ACC tournament. That's the point. So that's why
I'm
lost to
Duke without the Player of the Year.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I'm more comfortable with the path, because I do believe the committee knows a little bit more about ball and where people should be when you see the total overall seeding. Very interesting point. I hadn't even thought about that and haven't seen the chatter you're talking about where people say kind of all or nothing, get out of that first weekend and you're fine, or you lose the second round. Because, the Miami game a couple years ago, the Yale game last year, the Clemson game in 2018, people have bad memories of those, but throw that away. That doesn't mean anything. This is a completely different team, completely different year. This team did things that those teams didn't do. So I like the path. And again, we keep talking about Louisville, and it probably more than likely is going to be Creighton. I like Creighton, looking at the matchups, looking at both teams. So, do what you have to do, take care of business, get to Atlanta, and then it's on. Anything can happen.
Have you looked to see who's favored in that game?
The Creighton-Louisville game? I have not. Well, when I did look, there wasn't a line, and that was interesting.
There is now. FanDuel has Louisville as a 2.5-point favorite.
That's
but
close.
I'm with you. In my bracket, I've picked Creighton.
So that 8-9 game, Zach, we've talked about this before. If it's a 2.5-point spread, that should be a pretty competitive, emotionally draining basketball game.
I hope they beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah. While Auburn should be playing Hudson Moore and Ja'Kai Howard with 15 minutes left to go in the game.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. And then you look at the path. There will be a week in between, or like 4 days or 5 days from when Auburn will have to play whoever in Sweet 16, assuming they win. But I mean, you just look at the Michigan playing UC San Diego, which has been kind of a trendy upset pick that I've seen to some extent. I don't know if I'm buying that. And then Yale and Texas A&M, and then Michigan probably playing Texas A&M if they go chalk. Like, that'll be a battle. There'll be a longer break in between that game and the Sweet 16 appearance, but still, like, that's I think that's a tough foursome to get out of.
It really is. I think those first-round matchups, Michigan is going to have to expend a lot of energy to get by UC San Diego. They're good. We know what Yale can do, and Yale plays a similar style, not as athletic, but a defensive, slow you down, want to put pins and needles in my eyeballs to watch the game style that A&M plays. It's very defensively savvy. That game being in the 60s wouldn't surprise me, because NCAA tournament games sometimes in the first round are low scoring anyway. So
Michigan's only a 2.5-point favorite over UC.
See, everyone is buying into that UC San Diego love, and this is a Michigan team that just won the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, Trey Donaldson, baby. Let's go.
Didn't move a seed line. The team they beat is a 3 in Wisconsin, and the semifinal team is Michigan State, who lost this. So that's why I want to tell people, don't pay attention to trends. They don't matter good or bad.
Right.
They do not matter good or bad. Michigan State was a 2 seed. They lost in the semifinals. They stayed a 2 seed. Yeah, Michigan didn't move a seed line. There's no way they did. They were a 5 going into the Big Ten tournament.
Then A&M is a 6.5 point favorite over Yale. So I've picked Michigan and A&M in my bracket, and I've got Auburn playing Michigan in the Sweet 16.
I picked UC San Diego to upset Michigan. Okay. I picked Texas A&M to beat Yale, and I have Auburn beating UC San Diego in the 16.
Wow, you got UC San Diego in the Sweet 16.
Yep.
Is that best case for Auburn?
I think so. Maybe I'm booging. Maybe I'm speaking it into existence.
Who do you have Auburn playing in the Elite Eight?
Michigan State. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I've got Michigan State there too. I wanted to put Ole Miss. Couldn't do it.
Michigan State, I've been saying this for 3 weeks. I was shocked they lost in the semifinals. That's a really good basketball team. Them and St. John's, who I think play each other in that bracket, are the two guys. No, St. John's.
No,
they
St.
would.
John's the 2.
Yeah, St. John's is the 2. But anyway, Michigan State is a team, and St. John's is another team that I was really looking at, saying they could do some damage in this tournament.
So you have Auburn beating Michigan State?
I do.
Okay, so you got them in the Final Four.
I do.
Playing who?
I have them losing to they would play Florida in the championship, would they not?
No, they play them in the Final Four.
I have them losing to Florida in the Final Four.
Okay, got it.
But I did that for a reason, so don't everyone hate on me. There's a little reverse psychology there.
Sure, yeah. Just I think we call that hedging. No, my Final Four was all SEC teams, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to redo this. I'm gonna have to redo this. So I'm not official on my bracket quite yet. But yeah, I think the path. I think that it's interesting how the path is viewed, and I think it's interesting what people are predicting Auburn to do is viewed. Like, I don't see Auburn lose. Like, I haven't seen one bracket of people saying like Auburn's losing the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16. It's either the second round or like they make it to the Final Four. So very interesting, and I kind of feel that way. Like, I think if Auburn gets through there, I think they've got a really, really good shot. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Auburn Tigers. Let us know your thoughts down below. But hey, we've got a bracket challenge. I'll try to remember to put it in the description. If I don't put it in the description, I will pin the comment on YouTube. So be sure to check that out. We'll do something for the winner. Darrell, you
well,
a gift card.
Yeah, I've committed.
Well.
Yep, I've committed Alumni Hall gift card. So let's go.
There we go. So yeah, we'll figure that out for sure. All right, Auburn spring break is here, but guys are still getting after it. And we're still hearing great things about the Tigers. There's a name that has stood out that I want to talk about in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out and shopping online and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you the full visibility and control of your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's like a financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. Stop just managing your money and start building wealth with Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, all one word, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, half off of your first year. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We will go live after every Auburn basketball game in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully there's lots of them. Darrell Dapprich. But as we talk about spring practice for football, which will start next week, Pro Day is next week, and then the following day they'll start rocking and roll. I guess Pro Day is Monday, and then practices will start on Tuesday after that. But a name that I heard last week is Sam Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Turner has been impressing his teammates in all of these team-led practices and drills that they've been able to do. That backup spot behind Cam Coleman. I've talked about the battle between Perry Thompson and Horatio Fields. I think Sam Turner's in that discussion as well.
Yeah, could he be this year's, not by a position at the wide receiver room, but Malcolm Simmons, who comes in as a freshman a little under the radar? Remember, everyone last year was talking about Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson as the freshman receiver, and even Bryce Kane to a certain extent. Sure. And here comes Malcolm Simmons, to contribute and make a big impact as a freshman. Could that be what Sam Turner does? And I've heard the same thing. Very smart, very polished, very, kind of mature beyond his years as far as the level that he runs routes and all that kind of thing. So that would be great. I mean, and
it lines up with whatever we've said about Sam Turner too. Like during the recruitment process, you and I would do shows just laughing about his ranking. Like this guy's smoking people in some of the most competitive high school football in the country. And it's like, I don't care that it's a 3-star. I don't care what his ranking is. Watch his tape. This dude's an SEC player.
He played in the best college football classification in Georgia and played against some of the best competition in the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia is not Idaho when it comes to college football. So just by default there, well,
why'd you say Idaho? Any reason?
Just threw it out there.
That's no deeper meaning there.
Oh, I just thought about that. No deeper meaning. Yeah, that would have been cool, but I didn't even think about that. I was thinking Montana or Idaho, but I like Montana.
I thought you were taking shots at a former Auburn head coach there, but you weren't.
I wish I was that smart. I wasn't.
Maybe it's subconscious. I don't know.
I just threw out a nondescript college football state that I don't think is a powerhouse, but yeah, that's a good one. Maybe it was subconscious.
Yeah.
I think that it's a big deal also with the kind of recruiting class that Auburn had last year in the wide receiver room to get somebody else to emerge in this class. You know what I'm saying? You've had your Cam Colemans, you have your Malcolm Simmons and Perry Thompson, some transfers, but it sure is nice to have one come out of every class that contributes right away.
No kidding, man. I mean, what a fun thing that we're starting to see with like stacking classes and all of that. And this year's receiver class didn't really get a whole lot of the hoopla and attention. I mean, obviously the year before that did, and I think this year's will, the 2026 class. But yeah, it almost felt like a filler class of the position. But I wouldn't be shocked if some of these guys end up playing. So,
well, Smith from Selma, the younger brother. I know there's two that Auburn signed,
right?
But that's a big get, and he's a they have him listed as athlete, but he's a pure receiver, and he's a good receiver, and obviously Sam Turner is too. So it's a very deep room. It's a very talented room. You mentioned the key word stacking, and then you go out and get Fields and Singleton to come in and fill some spots. I'm just telling you, I know that recruiting is followed differently than it was a while ago. This is the most excited I've been ever about an Auburn receiving room to watch Auburn receivers.
From top to bottom. Man.
Well, I say that. Let me say this. It's tied with the year that Abamanu, Arum Shadu, Courtney Taylor, and I think Anthony Mix came back. Those four dudes were studs, and so three of them were really, really good and made a lot of plays. So that's the last time I've been this excited about a receivers class. Because Zach, let's be honest, even the Cam Newton years when Auburn won a national championship, they had Darvin Adams. I can't even name another receiver on that team.
Terrell Zachary was the other one.
That's true, and he made some good plays.
He was really fast. So, okay, that's good. End around.
2013, I mean, they ran it 65 times a game. So, how real important was the receivers in that year? But
in 13, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Sammy, right?
Right, and made a big play, but it always just seemed to be one dude, right?
Ricardo was on that. Like, I don't know how good Ricardo was.
I get it. He made the wonderful catch, and he made the wonderful play at Georgia, but I'm talking about consistency over multiple years, right? Abamanu, Arum Shadu, Courtney Taylor made impacts at Auburn for multiple years. They made plays.
Yeah,
and I want to.
That receiver room was almost ahead of its time, too. Like, if you put those, I think that room could play in today's version.
Absolutely.
Football, 20 years later. And 2017, I think, was a little underrated in hindsight. It's just how we fell short when it mattered most, but like with Slayton, Ryan Davis, and all that. Yeah. So that was a fun one too.
And I like the Duke Williams when Duke and Sammy Coates were opposite each other in 2014, and Nick Marshall kind of gotten better, right, from 13 to 14. His passing improved. His passing efficiency improved. I think Duke Williams had a lot to do with that. He helped Nick Marshall get better. Duke Williams was a freak.
Gave that offense an extra punch, if you will.
Yeah. I love it. That wasn't subconscious. So
What do you mean? I have no clue what you're talking about. But yeah, so I think obviously the receiver room is going to be exciting because you've got every classification or every level of class is filled now with Horatio coming in and Singleton coming in. And then you've just got guys that can do so many different things. It's so fun. I mean, you've got the shiftiness and the speed of Malcolm Simmons and Eric Singleton. You've got the size of Horatio Fields and Perry. You've got Cam Coleman, who could do literally anything. You've got the shifty, slot with Bryce Kane, if you want to go that route as well. I mean, there's a lot. They could throw a lot at you, and it's going to be fun.
I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
If you're a defensive coordinator in this league and you're getting ready for 2025 to focus on a game plan, even without the season starting, and you look at Auburn's roster and say,
yes,
kind of what we need to defend against, do you not agree that they're going to put emphasis on trying to slow down Auburn's receivers? You look at the room and go, that's where we got to beat them. That's who we've got to slow down.
I think right now, not knowing how this team comes together, I'm just guessing, is if I'm a defensive coordinator prepping for Auburn, I think the game plan is still the same. I think you put an extra guy in the box so that Jackson Arnold or whoever's playing Auburn's quarterback, last year obviously it was Thorne, keeps it on RPO situations, and you make Auburn's quarterback make decisions. Because I don't know what the coaching opinion is on Jackson Arnold. I don't know. But Jackson Arnold is going to have to beat defenses. I don't think it's going to be all on Cam Coleman or Eric Singleton or these receivers. Like, it's Jackson Arnold is who's playing quarterback. Because the way Auburn ran their offense last year, when Cam Coleman was given the opportunity to win one-on-one battles, he did. When Keandre Lambert-Smith was given the opportunity to win one-on-one battles, he did. When Malcolm Simmons was given the opportunity to win one-on-one battles, he did. It was the quarterback position that fell short. And so Jackson Arnold has to prove that he can win in those situations.
So let me put it another way.
Okay.
You would agree that the days of stacking the box and loading the box against Auburn to stop Auburn offensively are done.
That's tricky though, because I don't think no. In short, no. But it's not because of threat of the run and disrespect of the pass. It's Hugh Freeze runs an RPO all the time, and so you want the quarterback to hold on to the football. And the way you dictate that defensively is you put an extra guy up there for that to be the read, and then Jackson does the RPO thing and he keeps it. I mean, that's what they did with Thorne last year.
I'm hoping that we see more emphasis placed on stopping Auburn's receivers and moving people away from the line of scrimmage.
I hope so.
Because if that happens, then the running backs are going to eat. And that's a flip from what we've seen in Auburn in years. It's always the other way around.
Sure.
And so it'd be nice to give them a little bit of breathing room, and a little bit of space to do with how he wants to operate. In the RPO game, you're right. It starts with that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It is an interesting dynamic for sure. And do they do less RPO? I don't think so. I think that's who Freeze is at this point. So hopefully you've got folks who feel more comfortable running in and making those super quick decisions under pressure. We'll see. Darrell Dapprich, I forgot your name earlier, but you have Dap on your shirt, so it jogged my memory.
Spackle. It's what you put in the holes in the wall. So there you go.
Is that a brand?
It is. It's been a brand for a long time. My dad used to use it. He used to go, "This is our brand, son." So I found a shirt years later. So there you go.
Son, we named you after this brand. That's how much we love it.
There you go. You can catch me on X Dap6410, Instagram Darrell Dap, and then with you, I'm going to take a lot of cough drops and throat lozenges because we're going to do a lot of post-game live shows together.
I hope so. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Helps the show out a ton. And once again, join our bracket challenge. The link will be down below. Go check it out. If you're tuning in on audio, please subscribe and leave us a review. Helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.